Welcome, everybody. Happy Lonely Friday night. Welcome to Sam Roberts Now. Hope everybody's doing great. Hope everybody's feeling extra scary as we're coming to you live on the Friday before Halloween. Only 2 more days. I hope everybody's got their trick-or-treat candy ready and their costumes out and just feeling the spirit. I love this time of year, and who better to share the time of year that you love with than the one and only Hot Dog. Whoa, Hot Dog. I can't hear you.
Sam, you're incorrect.
Uh-oh.
Today, it's the Undertaker.
Oh, my gosh. I didn't know we were going to have the Dominican Undertaker with us. This is very scary. Whoa, you just gave me the chills. And this is like 1996 era, like right before the Attitude Era Undertaker.
This is lightning rays hitting the ring.
Oh,
Undertaker.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is like post-buried alive, pre-ministry Undertaker.
And this is not the same outfit I had last year.
Yeah, it looks like also, it looks like the Undertaker / a plague doctor without the mask. But I'm going to go with Undertaker. I'll go with you on this. It's Halloween. We should all be celebrating. And that's exactly what I want to do. Don't forget while you're here to hit subscribe already. I feel like either my TV's crooked or the camera angle's crooked tonight, but, maybe that's just me. We've been filming a lot in the Notsam studio today, but there's lots of content coming. Hope you all saw the Sopranos show that I've started with Ian Fidance, Sopranos Prima Volta. Ian Fidance's first run through the Sopranos, and we'll be doing it along with him. So there'll be weekly episodes of that. Check it out if you haven't. The first episode went up on Thursday here on the channel. That's why you should subscribe and turn your notifications on. Don't forget to smash like. Every super chat's going to get read. Hot Dog's going to have purple background lighting because it's Halloween and he's the Undertaker. And it's going to be a great time. It's going to be a great, scary time because it's been a while. Last time we did one of these, and technically it wasn't even a franchise breakdown. It was a movie universe breakdown, which to me are 2 different things. But tonight, Hot Dog, this is one by request. People are very fond of us breaking down full movie franchises and trying to explore and explain the lore and the canon that runs throughout these franchises. In the past, we've done Friday the 13th. We did Saw, correct? That was a real that was a tough one. Saw was a tough one, but we did it.
Yeah, we kind of we got through that.
And we got through it. It was the research was difficult on that one because part of it is like, you spend the week watching these movies and then you really piece together, because it's not just kind of the general overview. I'd like to really piece together what the story is, because a lot of these times for people like you watching, or even Hot Dog that's with us tonight, he hasn't seen all of these movies. He's going to have questions. He's going to say, well, how does this make sense in the big picture? And I should be here to be able to answer a question that.
I'm not the biggest horror movie buff, I'm a little bit squeamish.
Yeah,
when it comes to all that stuff.
But don't you feel good when like Halloween comes around and you do have kind of at least a foundational knowledge of the Friday the 13th series, the Saw series, stuff like that? You weren't here for it, but the last time we broke down a movie universe, Drake Maverick was here and we broke down the Conjuring universe. Not a franchise necessarily, because you're not telling chapters in a story so much with that. It's actually multiple sets of sequels all lumped together, almost like the Marvel universe, where movies aren't sequels of each other, but they're all existing in that same world. Today, we go back to the franchise space. Today, it's not about going through a universe as much as it is going through what is actually, when you break it down, one of the more cohesive horror movie franchises as far as horror movie franchises go. We've had to explain, for instance, the Halloween timeline and how it splinters off 3 or 4 times throughout. This one, not so much. Tonight, we do a request that I've gotten many, many times. Tonight, we do certainly an iconic franchise, one of the most, you could argue the most iconic franchise of all horror movies. Tonight, once and for all, we break down the Nightmare on Elm Street series. Tonight, we tell the story of Freddy Krueger from start to finish as it's told through cinema. Now, before we start, we're going to be going through the films, okay? Freddy Krueger became such a phenomenon as a character in the late 80s going into the early 90s that he was a part of a whole bunch of stuff. There was Freddy Krueger dolls, there was Freddy Krueger t-shirts, there was Freddy Krueger everything, including a TV series. He became like Crypt Keeper. Like, you know how Tales from the Crypt has the Crypt Keeper, and he's almost like a fun host, like a horrific Johnny Carson almost, like a horrific Casey Kasem, more like it. You know? Freddy Krueger became that for a period of time. That's not where we're going. We're not going to dip into the TV world at all. That gets way too complicated. And personally, I don't think that we can realistically expect that to be a full part of canon. I think that, like, for instance, let's go back to the Marvel universe. When you start being like, well, this happened on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you're going like, come on, guys. Like, come on. What do you expect me to, how much do you expect me to watch here? So instead, we're going to run down the entire Nightmare on Elm Street franchise because from the beginning, all the way until the remake, there's one remake, but every movie that came before the remake does follow a singular trackable timeline, which can't be said for all of these movies. There's many, like, you know, reboots and, well, we're going to change this, but not so much with Nightmare on Elm Street. So let's start. Let's go back to 1984. And let's start with the very, no, that's very good. That's very, I was letting the sound play out. With the very first movie, A Nightmare on Elm Street, one of the movies that put New Line Cinema on the map, Wes Craven's film. And it's really interesting, too. If you look at these movies one after another, because really, you're talking about 7 movies, you know, before you get into Freddy versus Jason. You're talking about 7 movies over the course of only 10 years, from 1984 to 1994. There were 7 Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And especially in the first few, you can just see in the logo for New Line Cinema, you can watch how, as a production house, it just ups and ups and ups. Like, it goes from this kind of very small thing to, like, one of the big dogs. Like, New Line becomes a big name. And it's interesting. You can just see it in the logo. You know what I mean? But let's go back to the first movie. 1984, Nightmare on Elm Street. This is undeniably a classic film. This is just a good movie. Like, this isn't good for a horror movie. This isn't a popcorn movie. This isn't one of those movies that you have to add some word to it to justify its existence. This is just a great movie. Hot Dog, this is where we get to know Freddy Krueger. This is where we get to know the whole story. What do you know about A Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy Krueger?
What I know about Freddy Krueger is he was like a child molester or something like that, or something in that ballpark. And he's something with, like, he was like burned off, like something. And that's all I know.
So the correct answer is not a lot.
That's enough. I mean, that's
I mean, look,
something.
It does fall in the catch-all. So here's what's happening, okay? First of all, interesting tidbit. A Nightmare on Elm Street, a lot of you might know. Introducing Johnny Depp. Very first movie, Nightmare on Elm Street, yeah. So what we're following is the prototypical group of teens. They're trying to have a good time. They all live there on Elm Street together. And they start having nightmares. They start having similar nightmares. And they start talking to each other about the fact that this same boogeyman is tracking them in all their nightmares. This same guy with a striped sweater and a grotesque, deformed face and a glove that looks like he has giant razor blades for fingers is haunting all of them in their dreams. And they quickly realize that something is amiss here, that there is something afoot, and that there is no logical reason why they should all be having this same experience, as they've never seen this figure before. And, you know, they kind of put it aside. Nobody's really taking them seriously. They're grown-ass teenagers talking about their nightmares. Nobody wants to hear about your bad dreams when you're 17, 18 years old. It's ridiculous. You know, get on with your life. But what ends up happening is, it's a slumber party, it's a sleepover, it's what it is. It's the kids get coupled off. You have Johnny Depp and his girlfriend Nancy, who are like the good kids, and then you have Nancy's friend, who I think could be a good kid, but she's with the bad boy. Her boyfriend is a very bad influence, just a troubled kid, likes having sex, loves underage drinking, gets himself in trouble with the law. Hot Dog carries a switchblade. Okay, so he's not messing around.
Bad dude.
Exactly. So what ends up happening is, this bad guy especially, he's going like, come on, guys, let's not talk about our nightmares. The parents aren't home. So me and this girl, we're going to go up to the parents' bedroom. We're going to have some sex. You guys stay down here and chill. Don't even worry about us. And so, it's like, good for you, right? So they have some sex. They fall asleep. While the girl upstairs is asleep, the guy just looks on helplessly as somehow, in the middle of his girlfriend's sleep, his girlfriend gets her whole gut sliced open. There's blood everywhere and he just sees her because he doesn't see Freddy because he's not asleep. He's just seeing his girlfriend get brought up a wall and onto the ceiling, and there's blood dripping down from her, and she's on the ceiling, and he's like, what the hell is going on? There's an invisible man in here hacking up my girlfriend. And she falls down, and she's dead, and then Nancy and Johnny Depp finally get the door open, and what do they see? This troubled teen punk who carries a switchblade, mind you, and a bloodied, murdered girlfriend in the room. He's like, someone else did this. And they're like,
the spooky ghost did it.
Well, he said someone else did it. And they said, who? And he said, I don't know. I couldn't see him. And they go, what? And then the cops come. He jumps out the window. He gets the fuck out of here because he knows what this is, okay? The guy's street smart. So he's running. The cops end up catching him. He goes into jail. Nancy starts figuring out what's going on. She goes, he didn't do this. She knows that Freddy's up to something. Something is happening with Freddy. She ends up, because her friend Tina's all bloodied up. She doesn't think the boyfriend did it, I don't think. So, she starts trying to figure out what's going on. She hears the name Fred Krueger. Who's Fred Krueger? What's this Fred Krueger? The parents are like, we don't
talk about old shit?
Yeah, we don't really talk about old shit. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. Don't bring that name up. I don't know what you're talking about. Meanwhile, the cops get this guy, the boyfriend. They're like, there's no Fred Krueger. The boyfriend did it. Nancy's like, I'm pretty sure it was this Fred Krueger guy that you guys aren't telling me about. They're like, no, the boyfriend did it. The boyfriend, he's in a holding cell, because it's late at night. There's not going to be a judge there. He's going to wait till morning before he sees a judge, right? So he's sitting in the holding cell. He falls to sleep in the holding cell while Nancy is sitting there trying to argue with the cops. Hey, there's this Fred Krueger guy that's out there. A sheet starts wrapping around this kid's neck. Freddy's doing it while he's sleeping, drags him up the wall, hangs him to death in the cell. The cops are like, this guy killed himself. Nancy's like, no, because Nancy saw. Nancy walked in. When she walked in, she saw him getting dragged up the wall. So she knows that he didn't do it. She knows that there's something going on here. They're like, no, he killed himself. So what does she find out from doing all her research? She finds out that, so in this movie, it's important to note, like, we start seeing Freddy. Freddy comes out in the kids' dreams. Freddy is not yet, this is a lot of sight gags, like a lot of visual stuff. This is not quite Freddy at his peak of, like, wisecracks with every single kill. Primetime Bitch is coming later, but it's not here yet. Right now, Freddy is still kind of scary, not funny, but doing some crazy-ass visual gags. Nancy starts dozing off in the bathtub at one point, and you just see a glove reach out from the water right between Nancy's legs. And then, like, she wakes up. Her mom calls her or something. She wakes up, the glove goes right back down real quick. Like little wacky stuff like that. The Johnny Depp kill is great in this thing. He gets sucked into his bed, like it's the pits of hell, and just blood spurts out from the bed. It's crazy. They do such a good job with all that stuff. But it's as Freddy, I think, was always intended to be. Not hilarious, just scary. You know, I mean, not without a sense of humor. Clearly a charismatic guy. But we find out he was using his charisma for bad, hot dog.
At Freddy Krueger, the first thing you think of is charisma.
Well, eventually you do. Wait till the way he became a phenomenon. He was Carson for horror. But not yet. He's not there yet. So, Nancy finds out. She finally gets to the bottom of it from her dad. She's like, enough of this nonsense. What the hell happened? Her dad says, look, all right, I'll tell you. We burned that guy alive. She goes, what? You go, yeah, we did that. So apparently, Fred Krueger was a child murderer. He's a child murderer. He's killing kids on Elm Street. And he got out through some kind of loophole or something. And the parents are like, we can't have this. So they chased him down and they burned him alive. And he said, I want you to know that before you send me to hell, I will see all your children in their dreams. And so those are the people that he is haunting. He is haunting the children of the parents that burned him. So the reason that he's popping up in Nancy's dream, in Tina's dream, in Johnny Depp's dreams, is because their parents are the ones that burned Freddy. So now he is extracting his cold, hard, deadly, murderous revenge on the children of the parents of Elm Street.
That is a dish best served cold, huh? Waited a couple years on that one.
Oh, he did. He took his time on it. He certainly did. Now, eventually, and they start making Nancy feel like she's nuts. They put bars on her windows so she can't get out. They lock the door from the inside. They do everything. When Johnny Depp, her boyfriend, gets killed, she's watching from her bedroom. She can see all this blood because he lives across the street. She can see all this blood going everywhere. She can't get out. People are like, oh, she's just the crazy girl who lives in that house. She's like, no, there's a guy in people's dreams. We can't go to sleep. And all the kids are losing their minds, right? Because they're sitting there taking no-dos and drinking like cans of Coke. She's got a coffee maker in her room, just doing whatever they can to stay awake. Because
all the other kids know about Freddy. Like, it's not just this small group, this small ragtag group.
Yeah, but most of the other kids don't believe him. The other kids are like, you're full of shit. What are you talking about? There's a monster in your dream that's killing everybody? No. People don't really believe him like that. Like, Freddy is not infecting the whole high school.
And the parents know, but they're just like,
well, the parents,
you're crazy.
No, like the parents know who Freddy Krueger is, but they're still not sitting there going, well, yeah, clearly he has entered into your dreams and is killing you while you sleep as a spirit. Like, you know, like I don't think, like, you're trying to make the parents out to be insensitive, but realistically, if you, hot dog, burned a guy alive and your roommate was like, yo, hot dog, that guy you burned alive is haunting me in my dreams, and if I go to sleep, he's going to stab me to death with razor fingers, you'd probably be like, all right, buddy. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, let's add some context here. If the guy I burned alive said, I'm going to haunt the dreams of your roommate in a couple of years' time, that's probably something I would remember.
You'd remember it, but you wouldn't be like, yeah, that's probably going to happen. You'd still be like, it's interesting that you know that, but it's still very unlikely that somebody's going to kill you in your dream. Right? Is that fair?
I'm like 95% sure no one's going to kill you in your dreams. 5%.
5% though. 5% is kind of a big percent when you're dealing with consequences that are this severe. However, Nancy is able to defeat Freddy, or so she thinks. She's able to kill Freddy and also, you know, and burn him up, kill him off. He's dead. She gets her mind right. She goes into the dream. She kills him. Everything's good, right? End of the first movie, she's killed Freddy. Freddy killed her mom. Freddy killed everybody. But after she kills Freddy, the mom is back to life. All of her friends are back to life. Everybody's back to life like it never happened. It's a little weird, right? So, at the very end, the mom says goodbye as Nancy's on her way to school. And they get in the car, and it's a convertible car. And the roof comes up, and the roof of the car is the same color as Freddy's sweater, striped. And then the windows roll up, and the windows lock. And she's like, what? And then a hand comes out of the little window on the door, and grabs Nancy's mom by the face and pulls her back in. And the car just starts driving through smoke. And Nancy's like, let me out of here. And these little girls are singing 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. And it's very ambiguous. We realize that even though Nancy thinks she's killed Freddy, Freddy is far from dead. And that's where we end on part 1.
But so when she went into the dream, she never left the dream?
We don't know.
She was dreaming that whole time?
We don't know. We don't know. We'll get there. Well, we won't actually get that specific. But we'll find out if Freddy's alive or dead.
Okay.
Spoiler alert, alive, because there's not just one movie. Otherwise, this would be a 15-minute show. Like, it'll hardly be a franchise breakdown, right? So, obviously, this thing is a phenomenon. It leads to part 2. 1 year later, 1985, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. Now, this one, to me, a lot of people, this is their least favorite. It's not my least favorite at all.
Already?
Yes. A lot of people do not like the second one. It's a fascinating movie. I will get ahead of myself and tell you that the Nancy story and everything going on with Nancy continues, but it doesn't continue until part 3, part 4, part 5, etc. None of the originals are in part 2. Part 2 is Freddy's in it. It's not a complete departure like Halloween 3, but for all intents and purposes, it has nothing to do with the storyline that exists in the rest of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. It does.
Is it just like let's just redo this story with different people?
No, not even. So you'd think, right? So this one centers around a guy named Jesse, and for slasher movies to center around a guy is very atypical. You know, there's a trope that's known as the final girl. You know, that this is the heroine that we follow throughout the film. And, you know, she's usually introduced to us with a group of people. The group of people starts to whittle down, and she's the last one. I think like Jennifer Love Hewitt would have been a final girl in I Know What You Did Last Summer. Neve Campbell is a final girl in Scream. Jamie Lee Curtis is like the ultimate final girl. She's like the quintessential final girl from Halloween and everything. She's still a final girl. I mean, technically, I guess now it's her daughter in the new Halloweens, but you get what I'm saying. Like a final girl is the tradition. You hear the scream, the feminine high-pitched scream. It's very good, Hot Dog. That was very, very good. Actually, your mic tapped out on you halfway through because it was like, I don't want to. It's too scary. It's too scary. But this one is a guy, but it's a guy. It's a male final girl because it still follows all the tropes of the final girl, and he screams like a final girl, like it's an odd thing. Like it's unsettling when you watch. It takes you out for a second, and you go, that was Jesse? There's a lot going on with Jesse in this movie. See, Jesse is from out of town, and he moves to Elm Street, and he moves into Nancy's house. That's the connection. That Nancy and her family, they're all gone, and he moves in to Nancy's house. And nobody's really told him. His dad knew because his dad got a deal on the house, but nobody told him
I bet you he did.
Yes. But nobody told him the extent to which drama and macabre happened in that house. Because that's when we kind of also get the memo that Nancy was not able to put everything back to the way it was before. Like that ending of part 1 where everything went back to the way it was before. No. Because they talked to Jesse about it, about how that's the house where the girl went crazy and they had to put bars on the window. They don't talk about Freddy. They go, that's the house from the girl who went crazy and had to watch her boyfriend get murdered and everything.
Used to be a lot of drama in that house.
Yes. But I mean, there's some odd stuff going on, right? Like from the beginning, there's some great lines in this thing. Like Jesse is driving a girl to school every day, and there's like a weird platonic sexual kind of energy going on between these two. Will they, won't they type stuff, you know? And Jesse's on, like, I think it's the football team and whatever. They're practicing. They're doing calisthenics. And the jock who's with Jesse, who, like, you would think is the bully in the film. Like, he kind of is cast as the bully. But there's a weird dynamic between Jesse and this dude, too, where you're like, what's happening between these two right now? Like, what am I picking up on here? There's an energy going on that I find interesting, right? And, like, the first time they interact, the guy's like, he goes like this. He goes, so what's up with you and her? And Jesse's like, oh, you know, what do you mean? And he goes, well, what are you doing? Are you mounting her nightly? And I was like, mounting? I don't think, even in the 1980s, I don't think anybody said mounting her nightly. Mounting her nightly. And have you ever had a conversation? I mean, you're younger than me, hot dog. Like, if somebody was like, so what's going on with you and the girl in the cubicle over, you mounting her nightly? Would you be like, oh, yeah, this is how dudes talk?
What's wrong with you?
So Jesse takes offense to it, and they start fighting. But they don't fight like, yo, let's square up right now. I grab you by the throat, throw a couple blows. Like, they start, like, wrestling and grappling and, like, immediately start tearing each other's shirts off and stuff.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, this is what this is. Like, all right, let's go.
It's better not awaken anything in me. Is that what you're thinking?
Okay. Now we're getting somewhere, right? Because I really looked at this film analytically. I looked at this film in a different way than maybe I looked at it through the first time. I looked at it through the lens of a man with a sociology degree, okay? I looked at it through an educated lens of going like, is there a subtext to this film? What is this film about? Right? Because you go like, well, if it's not about furthering the story of A Nightmare on Elm Street, what is this film about? I'm going to figure this out. And so I'm watching or whatever, and they get punished. They have to do push-ups until their coach tells them to stop. And their coach is looking through the window of his office. And Jesse goes, how long are we going to have to do this for? And the guy next to him is like, we may have to do this all night. The guy gets his rocks off on it. He hangs out at S&M clubs. And you just see the coach like peeking through the window at them. And I'm like, there's so much going on so early in this movie. Like, what is going on in this story right now? And you know, Jesse finally gets home. He's not doing his push-ups anymore. And he's got to clean his room. And this becomes like a classic scene in like movies. Like, you at least have to watch this scene. He is trying to go and hang out with the girl that he's giving rides to, that the guy asked if he was mounting nightly. And his dad said, no, you have to unpack your room. It's still in boxes. And he's like, I'll do it when I get home. His dad's like, no, do it now. His dad, by the way, pays him no mind, doesn't have any time for him, doesn't listen to him. He does not have a good relationship with his dad. Like, he and his dad just are not on the same page. His dad is just trying to bark out orders and have them listen to, and he's like, you don't get me type of relationship. But whatever, like, he goes up to clean his room, and like, he puts on some music and starts like dancing. And I mean, it's all very penile dancing. Like, it's all shifted to the pelvic area. It's dance music. And he puts on like sunglasses and a hat and starts like humping a whole bunch. And like, I mean, it looks like a Lil Nas X video. It looks, I mean, it's you know, it's what it is. He literally gets like a phallic object, like I don't remember if it's a mic stand or what it is, like a pole. And he
This sounds like it's just half the movie, the way you're describing.
It's a lot of it. It's a lot of it. And then the girl walks in and she's like, hey, I came to help you pack up your room. And he's like, oh, I was just dancing. Sorry, like, that's weird, but it's just what dudes do. And she's like, all right, that's just what dudes do, and then do your thing. So, whatever, you know, he goes to sleep. He starts seeing Freddy. Freddy's creeping in, you know, because it's Nancy's room, I guess. And I guess he's a sleepwalker, because in this one, a little bit in the first one, but in this one is where you start to get real, like, loosey-goosey about your definition of what is a dream and how does a person not wake up, right? Like, you're going like, well, but I guess he's a sleepwalker. So somehow he ends up, after getting into a fight with his dad, he ends up sleepwalking, and he walks out of his house in the middle of a rainstorm. And he sleepwalks to an S&M club. And he finds...
Oh, I'm sure it was sleepwalking.
And he finds the...
how do I end up here?
Yeah, well, I don't know. And he finds the coach there. Of the team. And he's in like leather straps and stuff. And the coach is like, oh, and I expect to see you here. And like, I don't know if this is like real life or if he's just dreaming in his bed still. Because I'm like, this is a crazy chain of events that's going on right now. Because the next thing we know, the coach has led him back to the school and is making him run laps in the gym. But it's like the middle of the night. And the coach is all S&M'd up and everything. And like using this, like the guy said, like his friend said at the beginning of the movie, to kind of get his rocks off. And then all of a sudden, Freddy comes. And Freddy fucks up the coach. Fucks him up. Chops him up to bits. Kills him so good. The kid, Jesse, is like, he's screaming. He can't believe what he's seen. We don't see Jesse and Freddy together, but like, Freddy's here. Jesse's over here. It's craziness.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, cops bring Jesse back home in the middle of the night with like a blanket over him. And they say, we found him naked walking along the highway. And his dad's like, all right, bring him in. And his dad's like, what kind of drugs are you on? He's like, I'm not on drugs, Dad. And he goes to his room. And I'm like, Jesse, you're walking around naked on the highway in the middle of the night with a police blanket over you. You don't really have grounds to cop an attitude. Like, your parents are allowed to have questions at that point.
You just don't understand me.
And so he wakes up the next morning, and I'm like, was the whole thing a dream? Like, maybe none of that happened, right? Maybe the coach and the whole thing, it was all just a dream. And and I think he's thinking that too. Maybe what just happened? There's such a weird thing. What the hell was going on? And he gets to the school, and there's police everywhere. Yo, did you hear what happened? What happened? We found the coach in S&M gear, hacked up and murdered in the gym. And he was like, oh my God, that really happened. Like, oh no, this is terrible. I can't believe this happened. So
What a kinky sequel.
Super kinky. Super kinky. And it's like, what's going on here? And as we further, we realize that Freddy has changed. Where in the first movie, Freddy was simply going into dreams to extract revenge on the parents of these children. In this movie, Freddy is trying to take over the body of Jesse. This is why Freddy hasn't killed Jesse. Freddy wants to take over Jesse's body so that he may enter into a human form and continue to kill and do everything that Freddy does. And Jesse this is the battle that Jesse is fighting. Jesse is fighting Freddy from taking over his body, right? So whatever. They end up going on. Jesse doesn't get popped for the coach's thing, and they don't know it's him. So
they found him in the highway naked. They didn't find him.
They found him in the highway naked. They found a coach dead, all chopped up in the gym. They were like, these two don't feel related. So they were like, nah, I think that's two different things. So whatever. Jesse ends up going to a party, and he at first kind of starts like flirting with this girl that he's been giving rides to. And they do have like not a full-on sex scene, but they begin a love scene. Like they're kissing a little bit and doing all this stuff.
The mounting starts.
The mounting starts, but it feels weird. Like it doesn't feel right. And Jesse ends up stopping it, piecing out, and going to his friend's house that he was doing push-ups with to be like, I have to talk to somebody about this. You're the only person I can talk to. And he went into his bedroom while he was sleeping, snuck into the dude's bedroom to be like, you're the only one I can talk to about this. So Jesse ends up trying to, like, kind of pour his soul out to this guy. And guess what? Freddy starts taking over Jesse. And Freddy kills Jesse's friend, but through Jesse is the conduit. So, like, Jesse is looking in the mirror, and he's seeing Freddy's glove on his hand. But there's, like, laughter going on in the background, and Jesse's like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And, like,
Jesse's just going to town.
Yeah, and then, you know, and it's just like the first movie with the boyfriend and the girlfriend, except this time, the dad busts down the door, he sees his son dead, and Jesse's like, holy shit, I'm the only one in here with him. So Jesse pieces out. He jumps out the window before the dad can see that Jesse's in there with his dead son. And he goes back to the party. Guess what happens at the party? Freddy shows up, starts killing everyone at the party. Everyone.
As Jesse.
No, he takes on Freddy form. But he's using...
How's that happening now?
I think he's using Jesse. Like, Jesse is able to bring him out into the world. You see what I'm saying? Like, he is coming into the world through Jesse. And he attacks the entire party. Jesse is the only one that can stop him. Jesse finally kills Freddy from within. It's when Jesse owns himself. And he's able to take control of his own body, and he squashes Freddy down, and he does away with Freddy, and Freddy goes away again. The ending gets ambiguous again, but ultimately, Freddy gets pushed down, Jesse is back, and we're all good. And I'm sitting there watching this, right? There's
a message there.
I'm sitting watching, right? And I go, okay, so the first Nightmare on Elm Street is, the whole hook is, every time a kid wakes up and he's scared from a bad dream, you go, it's just a bad dream. Go back to sleep. What if it wasn't just a bad dream? That's the line, I think, for the first Nightmare on Elm Street. The second Nightmare on Elm Street, like, I see a super chat just came in. Reed Rothschild says, the second film makes it hard to follow the logic of the rules that Freddy has to exist with. You just have to go with it. And that's true. Because the second film doesn't follow any of the logic of the first film. Any of the dream logic. It just doesn't follow any of it. Because it's completely...
He's just coming out of another person. That doesn't make any sense.
Coming out, hot dog. It's a completely different film. This film is so clearly, to me, about a young man in the mid-'80s struggling with his sexuality. That's what Freddy represents in this movie. This is not a Nightmare on Elm Street movie at all. It's disguised as a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, but this is a guy who is struggling with his identity and his sexuality in a time, 1985, where it wasn't nearly as accepted as it is now. And that is the battle that we're seeing. That's why the battle is within. That's why it's all about Jesse and Freddy, that Jesse has to own himself so that this monster doesn't come out in him. Do you see what I'm saying?
Don't you hate it when woke culture just gets all up in those movies?
I mean, it's 1985. Woke wasn't even a thing yet.
It's a great message. Great message, though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I guess if they did that today, it would be like woke culture run amok. But back then, I don't think people picked up on it unless But I love it. I think it's complicated. I think it's weird. I think it's sneaky. They snuck it in for people who didn't realize. But I
absolutely get why you said a lot of people don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, if you go and I want to see what happens next in the Nightmare on Elm Street series, you'd leave this movie going, what the fuck happened? What? And so the filmmakers were like, okay, all right, we hear you. And they come back with Nightmare on Elm Street 3, because this is called Freddy's Revenge. And it's like, revenge on what? What are you talking about? Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is called Dream Warriors. Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is where we kind of get back on track. It's still we still get a little wacky, but it's at least back on track. Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is really, to me, the sequel to Nightmare on Elm Street 1. So,
give us Nancy.
Nancy is back on Nightmare on Elm Street 3, but this time, Nancy has become an intern level kind of dream doctor. Like she because of her own experience, she's now studying dreams. And I mean, obviously she's not a doctor yet. This movie came out in 1987, so we're 3 years removed. 1985, 84, 85, and then 87 was the third one. But Nancy goes as an intern to this group home for troubled, kids with mental illness. And what's happening is, from the very beginning, Patricia Arquette, what is the name of her character? Kristen? I think Kristen. Maybe Kristen. Patricia Arquette plays a girl having a Freddy dream. And she's like, what is this? Why is this happening? And then we're saying, why is this happening again? And it's because the people in this home, what happened, there's like a group of, 4 or 5 kids. And they're told that they're having group psychosis, that all of them are having these nightmares due to a bout of group psychosis. In reality, they're all being hunted by Freddy because they are the last Elm Street kids. These are the last kids related to it. We didn't know there was this group of kids, but they never specifically outwardly said in the first movie, these are the only Elm Street kids. They just said these are the kids with parents that burned Freddy. It is okay to believe that maybe there were other parents in the mob that burned Freddy. We didn't see the mob necessarily. And that these kids that are in this hospital they say it. These are the last of the Elm Street kids.
Okay, the last of the Elm Street kids, the last of the parents who killed them, not just any of the kids in town.
No, we'll get there, by the way.
Okay.
No, we're not there yet. We will get there. But so this group of kids in this facility are the last of the Elm Street kids, but the doctors don't believe them. And they don't know anything about Freddy until Nancy shows up. And Nancy starts advocating that they give these kids drugs that can control their dreams. But the drugs are very experimental. So the nurses are not ready to do that. This is also, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is where we start to get more of the one-liners in. Like, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is where there's like a TV on the wall in one of the rooms. And like Freddy comes out of the TV and the girl who's watching it is like, mesmerized by it. And Freddy goes, "Welcome to prime time, bitch," and grabs her by the shoulders and shoves her face into the TV screen and breaks it. And that's how she dies. But like, those little like cute one-liners before he kills people. That's really, there's a smidge of it in part 1. Like I said, part 2 is its own beast. Part 3 is where they start to add a little bit more of that.
Punch up the script a little bit.
Yeah.
Cracking some jokes.
Yeah. So Nancy, as a medical intern, is able to figure out that Freddy is haunting their dreams because somehow she ends up in Patricia Arquette's dream. Nancy, like, she's not even asleep. She just, like, all of a sudden is in Patricia Arquette's dream. And she goes, "What the hell just happened? How did you do that?" And Patricia Arquette goes, "I don't know. It's just a gift that I have. Ever since I was a kid, I would have nightmares, and I would call my dad into my dream." And nobody really told her what was going on. She had to figure out later what it was. But she has this ability, this power. She can call people into her dream.
It's pretty dope.
It's super dope. I mean, imagine that. Like, imagine if you saw some dope shit and you were like, "Yo, Sam's got to see this." And you just, like, whatever I was doing, you just pull me into your dream. And I'm like, "Hot dog, the fuck? I was in the middle of something." And you're like, "Yeah, but look." And I'd be like, "That's crazy. That's awesome. Thank you for
I would just do the same as her and just pull you only into nightmares.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm not there. I don't want to save you. Like, pull me into the good dreams. Like, yeah, like, look, I got all the money in the world, and I wanted to show you. I'd be like, "Thank you, hot dog. Thank you for showing me. This is a lot. Let's go have some fun. You want to go get some cars or something like that? Let's go. Let's fly. Because we're in a good dream." So they end up having group therapy sessions. Larry Fishburne at the time, Lawrence Fishburne later, he's the one of the security guys in this mental facility, but he's got a pretty big part. And Nancy ends up getting one of the doctors on her side to go like, yeah, we got this. Now, unfortunately, go ahead.
For the prescription?
For the prescription, and also to kind of start believing what she's selling about Freddy and how you got to trust me on this. And the doctor goes, okay, now she's an intern. So it's a very risky thing to do. And what winds up happening is they do this kind of group therapy thing where they all go to sleep together. So they all start having dreams, right? And within those dreams in that one group therapy session, one of them ends up getting murked by Freddy. And the other one ends up getting pushed off the top of a thing by Freddy, so it looks like he killed himself. So it looks like we've had multiple suicides in this one therapy session, one dream therapy session. So they're like, hey, Doc, hey, Nancy, you need to get the fuck out of here, okay? Okay, and they're like, why? You got to trust us. And they're like, we did trust you, and those two people are dead. Here's what we're going to do. Everybody else here, they're going to be asleep. They're going to be asleep for a while. And Nancy's like, they can't be asleep. They can't. They're going to die if that happens. And they're like, oh, you're going to stop people from dying? Weird. Because 2 people, I think it's 2, might be 3, just died on your watch. Nancy
They killed themselves.
Yeah. Nancy goes, all right, we out then. We out. We out, yeah. And so they end up having to leave. But on the way out, there's this like part of the medical facility that's it almost looks like a lighthouse where the doctor is being summoned by this like sister, listen, like nun, and whatever, she brings him up to the top, and we find out that this nun, Amanda Kruger, this is Freddy's mom.
Oh,
Freddy's mom lives up there. We didn't find this out, but we find out at the end of the film it's Freddy's mom. He looks at the grave, it's Freddy's mom. All she does is tell him, look, if you want to stop Freddy, you have to put his remains to rest. We don't know it's Freddy's mom at the time. We find out at the end of the movie, there's a tombstone. We find out it's Freddy's mom. But she goes, you got to put Freddy's remains to rest. They go, okay, because they know Freddy's going to just kill everybody in that hospital otherwise, right? So they go and they find Nancy's dad, who we met in the first one. And they go, okay, it's going to be the doctor and Nancy's dad. And they go, Nancy's dad, you got to tell me where these Freddy bones are. Where did you burn up Freddy Krueger? We got to lay him to rest. He has to be laid to rest. I talked to his sister in a tower. That's how we're going to get this done. Meanwhile, Nancy goes back into the hospital because she tells Lawrence Fishburne, I just want to say goodbye to the kids. He's like, all right, you could say goodbye to the kids. But in reality, she's going to prepare them. You see, what she's realized is everybody has a dream power. Everybody gets to have one dream power. When they all dream together, what do you want to do now that you're dreaming? One of them, this dude, he gets to be super strong, so he bends chair legs. One of them does, like Patricia Arquette, even though technically she already has a dream power, she sucks people into her dream. She also, it's actually really lame. She's like, now that you're dreaming, what do you want your power to be? She does cartwheels. I'm like,
what?
Cartwheels? That guy just bent a chair leg. You're doing cartwheels?
Is she not able to do that in real life?
I don't think she can. Or she hasn't tried. I don't think she can, yeah. And then there's one mute kid who we don't know what his dream power is. He hasn't found it yet. But whatever. She goes like, we're about to get this done. We all need to go to sleep. Patricia Arquette, you need to suck us all into your dream. And boom, let's go. Let's go. Let's all kill Freddy together.
Dream Warriors.
Yes, the Dream Warriors are coming together. We're going to use all our dream powers to fight Freddy. And while we're fighting him, my dad and the doctor are going to put his bones to rest. And that should settle this whole thing. They go, okay. So while they're putting the bones to rest, unfortunately, they find the skeleton. The skeleton is in an auto yard. They go deep into an auto yard. They open the trunk of an old Cadillac. It's Freddy Krueger's legit bones, bro. Legit bones. So they start digging this hole. Nancy's dad and the doctor, they start digging this hole to put all the bones in. Guess what happens?
Mm-hmm.
Using 1987 claymation / CGI, the goddamn skeleton comes alive. Of all the luck. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, Freddy doesn't fight the Dream Warriors. Instead, he goes over and he uses his evilness to get into his old skeleton and starts kicking the shit out of the doctor. He kills Nancy's dad, and he kicks the shit out of the doctor. And he's like, okay, now that that's done, I'm going to fight these Dream Warriors. So the Dream Warriors end up fighting him. They're going boom, 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 boom. What he doesn't know is he starts pulling them each individually, right? That's how they think they're going to get him as a group, but he's kind of like multiplicity. He can kind of multiply, and he starts killing him individually, okay? The doctor wasn't really dead. He just got fucked up. So he woke up. The skeleton is now not infected by Freddy Krueger because he's fighting the Dream Warriors. So the doctor, he's got holy water. He's got a bottle of holy water, and he starts dumping the holy water on the bones. The bones start like reacting like there's sulfuric acid on them, and Freddy gets all weak all of a sudden. Then the mute kid who hasn't talked at all, he goes, yeah, and he talks. His dream power is that he talks.
That's lamer than the cartwheel.
It is a terrible dream power. But he talks because it's like obnoxious. Like earlier in the movie when the guy looks like he kills himself, but really Freddy pushed him off. He sees the guy on the ledge, and instead of jumping out of his room and being like, yo, there's a guy on the ledge, he runs out in a panic and just goes to the person at the desk, at the front desk, and just starts pointing. Because he doesn't talk. You know? And it's like, bro, just talk. You know? Just talk. But whatever. Once he finds his dream power and the holy water is dumped all over the thing, they get him. However, before they kill him, you know who he gets? You know who gets murked in this one?
Oh,
Nancy.
Nancy got it.
Nancy got hers. Nancy got it.
She got her receipt.
Nancy got her receipt. Nancy got it. You could go as long as you want to go, Nancy. Nancy got it. She's out of here after this one. But Patricia Arquette is our new final girl. So Patricia Arquette wins. Freddy's dead. We're good to go.
Okay, so 3 movies in, I'm having a problem.
Go ahead.
With keeping up. There has to be a frame to work within of rules set in this universe of what Freddy can or cannot do. I feel like they're just giving him all the powers.
Yo, who are you, Jamie Kennedy in Scream?
I mean, I'm just saying, it doesn't make sense. I mean, he could reanimate his corpse. When you're in
a yes, no. When you're in a dream, you could do anything. So you do get to have all the powers in a dream. I think that's fine.
Sure.
But yeah, reanimating the bones. I'm like, those guys are awake. Like that's not the doctor and her dad were awake.
Coming out of people's bodies in number 2.
We don't talk about number 2. That's a whole separate story. It's metaphor. That's all metaphor.
There's so much you can do, I feel like, in just fucking people up in their dreams. Why do we need
him to also be a skeleton? Yeah. I think it's because they love visual effects in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Even though it's like a very early time for visual effects, they love using them. So I think they just wanted to animate a skeleton, you know?
But that's what you got the dreams for, you know?
You could have. You're saying you could have had an animated skeleton in a dream.
Yes,
I get you.
You do whatever you want in a dream.
I know. I get you.
That's my gripe.
Well, we're not even halfway through. Part 4 is Nightmare on Elm Street 4 Dream Master. Okay.
Sounds so like high fantasy.
It gets real.
Warrior,
it gets real fantastical.
Master.
Yeah. No, that is an issue. That is a big issue. It does get fantastical. But so now Patricia Arquette has been recast. So it's the same character, but it's a different actress, which always throws you off.
Okay.
Like Patricia Arquette's like, I'm not doing this again.
I'm out of here.
And they're like, well, we need your character. And she's like, that's a you problem. And so and so they recast her. Yeah, so she's still scared And in the beginning of the movie, like, she and the 2 surviving members of the institution, they are out of the institution now. They're in regular high school, and she's pulling them in her dream to be like, I'm so shook right now. And they go into Freddy's boiler room, but it's cold. Like, the boiler's not even on. They're like, there's no Freddy. You don't need to worry about it. It's fine. But, like, little signs of Freddy start popping up here and there. And she's like, I'm seeing all these little signs of Freddy. And they're like, don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. That's when, let me see. Oh, yeah. So what happens is one of the dog, she pulls one of her people who was at the hospital with her and his dog into her dream with her, right? The dog comes with him, okay? So he starts sleeping with his dog, and I can't tell if this is the dog's dream or his dream, but this is the guy who can bend chair legs in that 3rd movie. Now he's in the 4th one. It's the same actor. They end up in a dream sequence going to the auto yard where Freddy's bones were laid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. They're sniffing around. He's sitting there being like, I knew it. Freddy's not here. Freddy's not here. We're all good. The dumb dog starts sniffing around, pisses on Freddy's grave, pisses on the grave where Freddy is. The piss stream, this is not a joke, Hot Dog. The piss stream is fire. The dog in the dream that they share, the dog pisses fire onto where Freddy is buried.
Oh, that must have been the dog's power.
Maybe, but it's a bad power because the dog fire piss is enough to bring Freddy and his bones out, and real Freddy is back because of the dog piss.
Okay, so are we going to explain the dog piss?
It's fire. Yes, it's demonic dog piss. And so what does Freddy do? He fucks that guy up. He kills him so good. He kills him. He's dead. That's one of the survivors, and we find out that Freddy is back now to kill the survivors from the hospital. He's tired of that bullshit. He doesn't like that he lost. They're still the last kids from Elm Street. He's going to kill all 3 of them.
Freddy's Revenge. Let's go.
Well, this is called Dream Master. Freddy's Revenge was the movie. That was part 2. Where Freddy didn't get revenge. It was just, I don't know. They wasted Freddy's Revenge. This should have been Freddy's Revenge.
Which could have been a great use of
Freddy's
Freddy's
they
Revenge.
Screwed up with the titles. No, that's right. So then Freddy goes to the next guy, that mute kid who's not mute anymore because of his dream power. He's still alive. And he sleeps on a waterbed. So he falls asleep on it because it's 1988. This is a year after. It's 1988 now. He sleeps on the waterbed. He wakes up, or he thinks he's waking up, but really he's in a dream. And inside the waterbed, submerged in the water, is a naked woman. Hot, too. A hot, naked woman is in the water that is, it's secured in the mattress. She would surely drown to death if she were actually in there. Terrible place for her to be. But he's like, this is awesome. There's a naked woman trapped in my waterbed. What could possibly be better? Unfortunately, that naked woman turns into Freddy Krueger. And not only does he slash open the waterbed, but he sucks him down. And like when he got Johnny Depp, the bed kind of ate Johnny Depp. This time, the waterbed turns in to almost like a pit, like a tunnel to hell. And he drags this guy down to hell. He kills him too. He's dead.
Okay, that's boom. Another one.
He's dead. Another one. So Kristen is now freaking out because nobody believes her. She goes to school the next day and both these guys are gone. They're not at school. And she's like, fuck, Freddy killed him. I know Freddy killed him. I have my intuition. I know what's going on in their dreams. Freddy killed them. And she's all screwed up about it. And she's telling her best friend, and her best friend believes her. But she's pissed. She's going home. She's talking to her parents about it. Everybody thinks she's a nut job, though. So what does her bitch mom do? And she does have a bitch mom. You know what she does?
What?
Grinds up sleeping pills and puts them in her water.
Okay, well that seems very counterintuitive, because if your daughter's happening in dreams, you're putting and that it seems like you're kind of asking for your daughter to get.
She doesn't believe her daughter. She thinks her daughter's going crazy due to sleep deprivation. That's the trick that Freddy's got. That people sound crazy because they haven't been sleeping, because when they sleep, they might get murdered. And that is a crazy thing that somebody would say if they were sleep deprived.
They know what happened.
You mean because
They know what happened to Freddy?
Because they're the last kids of Elm Street?
Yeah.
Yeah, they know what happened to Freddy, but it's still far-fetched that he'd be in the kids' dreams, killing them in the dreams. I don't know why you're acting like this is what happens. When you murder a guy, he kills your kids in their dreams. Like, that's not a normal thing, Hot Dog.
Well, I mean, but if like 2 or 3 people tell me that, if 2 or 3 teenagers come up to me and they're like, hey, look.
Like if OJ's kids were like, Nicole Brown Simpson is killing us in our dreams, it would still be far-fetched. Like OJ, because the question is not why. Like OJ would be like, I totally get why she's doing that. Like I definitely.
Yeah. What are the motives here?
Yeah, I totally understand why. How is troubling. I don't understand how. How would she get to do that? You should have seen what I or whoever did to her. How would she be able to do that? So the how, I think, is still plaguing people, but whatever. She gives her daughter these sleeping pills, and she goes, you just murdered me. And she stumbles around, and she has a very dramatic sequence, a very dramatic sleeping pill sequence, and she ends up going to sleep, right? And she ends up in a fight. Freddy Krueger obviously comes to get her. She ends up in a fight. She sucks her best friend, who she's met since. This is Kristen. Kristen is the Patricia Arquette character. Mm-hmm. Kristen sucks her best friend, Alice, who Kristen has met since part 3. Alice is a friend that Kristen met after she got out of the institution or wherever they were. So she sucks Alice in. And Freddy still kills Kristen. But before Kristen fully dies, she spits out her dream power. Not the cartwheel dream power, but the good dream power, the sucking you into a dream power. And she gives it to Alice. So now Alice has it. And now we find out Freddy starts bragging to Alice, and he shows his belly. And it's all these souls. And I think he might have done it with a meatball pizza. I don't remember if that was part 3 or part 4, where there were faces on the meatball pizza. I think it was part 4. But all of a sudden, because I know you're sitting there going like, well, he's only after them because they're the last kids of Elm Street. The parents should know. We've completely abandoned that. And now Freddy is feeding on souls. Freddy doesn't just kill people. He collects their souls. And that's feeding him. And that's what he gets energy from. Originally, Freddy got energy from people's fear and was extracting revenge. Now, Freddy is consuming souls.
He's an overachiever.
Right. So, eventually, Alice starts pulling dream powers from everybody to try to become a super force against Freddy. She ends up in one final battle with Freddy. And you know what she does?
What?
You know how she can...
Wait.
Go ahead.
Wait, she pulls Freddy into her dream. Into a deeper level dream like Inception.
No, Freddy would already be there.
But
it's literally...
you're in my dream, but I'm going to pull you deeper next level.
Freddy lives in dreams. No.
I'm going to pull you deeper. Well, you'd have no power. Okay. That would have been great. Write that down.
All right,
That's the next one.
I'll write that down for the next one for sure. But yeah, just copy Inception. But no, what she does is, because she's got the power, she pulls out all the souls that are in Freddy. And the souls all come out of Freddy within this dream, and they all kill him from the inside. Like all the hands start reaching out and everything, and they just pull him apart and leave him destroyed with nothing. So she pulls the souls out. Freddy is gone. And this one, I mean, there's a slightly ambiguous ending. Like she sees a little Freddy reflection at the end of the movie. But for all intents and purposes, like Alice kills Freddy. She gets him good. Right? So
no
now,
more souls for you.
Now we get to Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5. This is 1 year later now. Now we're at 1989. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child.
We're still in the 80s.
Yeah, this is 84, 85, 87, 88, 89. Like
all these movies happened before I was born.
They're pumping them out one a year. This is The Dream Child.
Okay. All right. Well, we got to stay with the motive.
Okay. Alice is back for this one. You remember Alice? She won. She beat Freddy the last time. Alice is back. She gets herself knocked up from her boyfriend. She's pregnant now. She's pregos, right? She has this dream where she is Amanda Kruger. She is Freddy's mom. She's in the cloak and everything. And then she wakes up. She's like, what the hell happened? And we're like, well, what's going on with all this stuff? But whatever. She's pregnant. And all of a sudden, people start getting sucked into Freddy Krueger world. People close to her start getting sucked into Freddy Krueger world that aren't falling asleep. And they're like, how is this all happening? He ends up, he kills her baby daddy. He kills him right away. He's dead. And they're like, and it becomes like, well, do we really want to keep the baby? She's like, oh, I have to keep the baby. And then she starts seeing this like 5-year-old kid. And he's like, I'm Jacob. I'm your baby. And I'm sitting there going like, that kid is 5 years old. He's walking. He's talking. He is super freaky looking. Like, that is an old kid. But apparently it represents who her kid will be. She starts seeing her kid in dreams. And the question is, how is Freddy sucking people into dreams in real life? Everybody's thinking Alice is nuts. There's all kinds of, wacky stuff in this. Like, she ends up one of her friends is like a comic book artist. So there's a whole, like, it looks like the Aha Take On Me music video where Freddy kills that comic book artist like in a comic book dream sequence, like it's animated and everything. Like it's all kinds of wacky stuff. But we find out that the reason that Freddy is pulling people into dreams is because he can enter Alice's dreams, obviously. Alice's baby is dreaming from inside her belly. The doctor says that babies in the womb can dream for, most of the time that they're in the womb. They're in a dream state. So he is utilizing that baby's dream state. And since he's inside Alice, he's using Alice's dream power to pull people into his baby dream and kill them.
That's pretty neat.
It's fucked up. Like, that's when it's like, how are we going to stop this guy? So that's what we really got to do. How are we going to stop this guy? So who are we going to find out about? Amanda Kruger. The way Freddy was born. Freddy is the son of 100 maniacs. Amanda Kruger was working at this mental facility. They locked up all the craziest of the crazy in this, like, water tower thing. She was locked in there with them because they didn't want to go in and find her. The security people, they didn't want to go in and find Amanda. So they just left her locked in with them. She was raped and assaulted by them. Ended up pregnant. That's how Freddy was born.
I'm not a big fan of like having like going back and giving origin stories of why
we're retconning. We're retconning now.
Yeah, like why is Freddy the way he was, and why can't Freddy just been a child killer? That's it. You don't need him being the son of 100 maniacs who raped his mom and did all this.
I would agree 100%. I think that the idea that there was a child killer and all the parents burned him and now he's getting revenge on their kids is perfect.
Yeah, that's fine.
You're getting real complicated now. So, but they go, well, how are we going to stop Freddy? Remember how we had to stop Freddy in part 3? We had to put his remains to rest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how are we going to stop him in part 5? We got to put his mom's remains to rest.
Why?
Obviously.
Why?
Because his mom killed herself inside the thing with in the mental asylum. Nobody ever collected her bones or anything. So she needs a proper burial or whatever. So but they don't even give her a burial. They just go into the water tower that's empty now anyway, and they find where she was. And they just kind of, she's like a ghost there, and they just kind of tap her. Almost like, I bless you. And she just kind of evaporates, and that's it. And then she goes in to the dream, because she's dead now, so she can do whatever she wants. And Freddy is about to kill Alice and take the kid. And she goes, "You have to stop this, Freddy." And Freddy turns around, and then she goes, and then she goes, "Well, the kid's got to do it." And so this little 5-year-old turns into baby Freddy Krueger. He turns into he's got a little kid Freddy Krueger face, and he looks like a little kid Freddy Krueger. And he's like, "Freddy, I want to be like you. Let's leave her alone. Let's leave my mom alone." And Freddy goes like this. Okay. and he doesn't kill Alice. And he goes to the kid, and then the kid turns on him. The kid kills Freddy, and then a little deformed baby Freddy comes out of Freddy's body, and then the kid turns into a baby, and the deformed baby Freddy evaporates into the Amanda Krueger's stomach, and the little good baby evaporates into Alice's stomach, and then Amanda Krueger goes into a boiler that's covered by multiple doors. And then a claw comes out of her and she gets all burned to death. And then Alice just goes back to living her life. And that's, unless I'm missing anything, I think that's where we leave it. Yep. That's it.
And jump the shark.
That's where you're tapping?
Yeah. Yep. That's it. There it is. Number 5.
Yeah. I mean, you're not.
That's what we do. It always happens.
You're not wrong, because I've got to tell you. We waited 2 years. 1991. Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. This is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 6. It's Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. I'm going to tell you something, Marte. This is not a good movie. There are more good Nightmare on Elm Street movies, more cohesive enough Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Part 1 is very good. Part 1's excellent. Part 2 is absolutely fascinating for a whole separate reason. Part 3 is definitely good.
Part 4 kind of makes sense.
Part 4 is okay. But the fact that you have at least 1 and 3 are very good. Part 2, if you can enjoy it for a totally separate reason, is still good. Part 4 is okay. The fact that you got all the way to 4 and you're still okay, that's a win. For any horror franchise.
For any series, any horror series, that's actually pretty impressive.
I think
you lost me and Jason by 3.
Yeah, the only other movie that's really done that well, Scream has maintained.
Yeah.
But also they wait 10 years now between sequels. But Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. This goes back to something else that you asked. Okay, this came out in 1991, but a big thing comes up. Okay? This movie is in the future. But not the robot future. Freddy's Dead takes place 10 years after the events that happened in The Dream Child. So The Dream Child came out in 1989. So technically, even though The Final Nightmare comes out in 1991, it's technically taking place in 1999.
Cool.
And in 1999, what's the name of the town? I wrote it down. See, I did a lot. I mean, there's pages. Springwood. Springwood is the town that Elm Street is on. Every child and teenager in Springwood has been killed. All of them. Every single one. After a series of murders and suicides, all of the kids of Springwood are dead. All of them.
Within the span of
10 years.
What? Within the span of 10 years.
Well, I mean, I guess technically if you go all the way back to the very first one came out in 1984. So from 84 to 1999, Freddy
That's
killed.
a lot of time to find a new house.
Meaning
Somewhere.
that you could have seen half the kids died and be out.
Yeah.
Well, okay, wait. He's killed all but one. I'm sorry, I misspoke. He's killed every single child and teenager there except for one. And the one has a nightmare and could be killed from the very beginning of the movie, but he isn't killed. Instead, and by the way, it's only Springwood, because he wakes up on the outskirts of town, in the town over. Freddy can't get to the town over. He's stuck in Springwood.
Yeah, there's borders that he has to deal with.
Exactly. So that's where Elm Street is, right? So he's just in Springwood. And this kid, he wakes up after taking a blow. Freddy fucked him up, but he didn't kill him. And he's got amnesia now. And he wakes up, and the police, they bring him to a shelter for troubled teens. Okay? And this is very 1991. Breckin Meyer is there. Like, it's super 91. It feels 91. The whole thing. It feels like the sequel to a movie that the first one was made a generation before. You know what I mean? Where you're like, times have changed so much from the first one that it becomes very difficult for continuity's sake to do a sequel, because they don't even make movies that feel like that anymore. By 1991, like a 1984 slasher felt more like, late 70s, early 80s. By 91, slashers felt entirely different, right? So so it becomes difficult in terms of storytelling. But he wakes up with amnesia, and the doctor at the place that he's at is like, we got to figure this shit out. We got to find out what's going on. And she finds a thing in him, and it says he's from Springwood. And he's like, okay, Springwood. I think it's Ohio. Springwood, Ohio. And he's like, okay. She's like, okay, let's go to Springwood. I'm going to put you in the van. We're going to go to Springwood. We're going to see what's up there. Now, the three troubled teens that we meet at the beginning of this movie, that they sneak into the van because they're trying to get out of the home. But they don't realize that the doctor from there, she's a young female doctor, but a doctor nonetheless, is taking the kid to Springwood. So they were already sneaking into this van, and they, are found out, and now she's stuck with four troubled teens going to Springwood where all the other kids are dead. This movie is full of cameos. Roseanne Barr and Tom Arnold are there. Johnny Depp is in there. There's all kinds of stuff going on. But
what's Johnny Depp is reprising his role?
Nope. No, because he remember, he died. He got eaten by the bed. So no, he's actually playing Johnny Depp on a This Is Your Brain on Drugs commercial.
Ah.
So it's kind of fun. But the three teens, they tag along, and well, you could guess what ends up happening is Freddy gets into their dreams. I'm assuming Alice is dead. It's 10 years later, and he killed every other teenager and kid. So I'm assuming he got Alice at some point. And must have gotten her little baby, too. That little baby, Jacob. The little baby that we all liked, he must have killed Jacob, unless Alice moved. I don't know. But I don't know.
Would be smart to.
I couldn't tell you. Yeah, I hope she did. But so they tag along, and they're all haunted in their dreams. Like, Freddy gets to know them pretty quick, and they're haunted. Like, the reason they're in this home is because they're all victims of child abuse. So they all get haunted by their
Parents.
actual abuse, right? So, like, one kid is deaf, and he's deaf because his mom made him deaf. So in his dream, Freddy takes on the presence of his mom, and she's got like a big giant Q-tip, and Freddy runs that shit from one ear through to the other. Gets him. But Freddy kills him. There's this other girl that was like sexually abused by her father. Her father tries to hit on her, but she's been training for it, so she starts fighting back and everything. Boom, boom, boom. It's all good. Freddy, as they're examining what the hell is going on, everybody in the town is crazy. Everybody in the town, all the adults that are left, they're all nuts. They're all like, they talk to imaginary people. They have the 1,000-yard stare. They're all crazy, okay? But they are able to discern this information, that Freddy had a kid. Never knew. Retcon, Freddy had a kid. Well, I didn't know about until 1999. Freddy had a kid. And what had happened was the kid got put up for adoption. The kid got taken away from Freddy because of all the child murdering that Freddy was doing. You see?
That'll do it.
Yeah. And so
it's hard to fight.
And so they find evidence that this is true. They find like a drawing that was made in the what's it called, in the orphanage that says K. Kruger. And you're like, and the guy doesn't remember his name. Don't forget, this is all centered around a kid with amnesia. And he's like a teenager. He's like, oh my God, I'm Freddy's kid. And that's what we're leaning towards and everything, right? And so he ends up in a dream. Freddy and him are up in the sky. He's on a parachute. Freddy clips one of his parachute strings. He goes like this to Freddy. I know you're not going to kill me because I'm your blood. And Freddy's like, ha, ha, ha. No, you're not. And he's like, oh, no, what? And he's like, no, you're not my blood. I just let you escape Springwood so that you would bring my daughter to me. And he goes, daughter? It's not even a guy? Freddy's like, nope. And then he cuts the other parachute string and he dies. He dies. He gets killed. You know when we find out who the daughter is?
Oh.
The doctor.
No.
The doctor that brought him there. Now we're doing something. Now I'm liking this. Now the doctor starts having all these memories that she's repressed. She remembers when Freddy was her dad, and we see Robert Englund as just, Fred Krueger before he's all like gnarled up and stuff like that.
It's the first time we see normal Freddy.
Well, interestingly enough, Robert Englund, whatever you want to, he has cameos in a bunch of the other movies. Like when the bus gets taken over by Freddy in, I think, part 2, he is the bus driver, but he's not in Freddy makeup. So there's little Easter eggs like that throughout the series. But we said this is where we get like 3/4 into this movie, we get the Freddy Krueger origin story, which I kind of thought we already had. But I kind of thought the origin story was he killed kids, he got burned alive, now he's haunting the kids of the people that burned him alive. But apparently what had happened was he was killing kids, but maintaining this life as like a good husband, father dude. And his wife went into the basement and found his killing room and found where he had all his gloves laid out and all the newspapers about him and, all this stuff. And so he told his daughter to go back in the house. And she went back in the house. And while she was back in the house, he was killing her mom in the backyard. He's just beating her into oblivion. And she came out. She saw his room. And she's like, oh, no. And then she came out and saw what he was doing to her mom. And he was like, she was like, this is terrible. This is terrible. And he's like, but you're not going to tell anybody, right? And she was like, no. But now she remembers all of it. Now. Mm-hmm. And then we find out that he was, that Freddy was abused as a kid. That Freddy he was abused as a kid. He was made fun of in school for being the son of 100 maniacs. People figured out that was his backstory. When he was a teenager, he abused himself physically to increase his pain tolerance so that he didn't feel pain because he was so used to it. And then his dad,
edgy.
Yeah. His foster dad, who's played by Alice Cooper, came in to beat him, but his beatings had no effect because he had hurt himself so much. And so the beatings had no effect. He was able to start beating up his dad back again. Then, what I never realized, nobody did, was he made a pact, and he actually made a deal with dream demons.
Ooh, this is going into like Jim Norton territory.
He made it
just like,
yes.
Just make a deal with the devil.
Yes, like he signed his name in blood. Yeah, no, he made a deal with dream demons, and the dream demons would give him the power that he wants as long as he collected souls. Which I'm sitting there going like, wait. So he would have had to deal. He made that deal while he was still alive, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which means that he would have had to do all this whether he got burned alive or not, because he had to collect the souls. So I'm like, this backstory cancels out the first backstory, and the first backstory is way better.
So is that why he was killing kids? Because he made the deal, or was this after he started killing kids?
Well,
He made the deal.
no, he was killing kids already. He made the deal. Then he got burned alive. Then he started killing kids in their dreams. But that means that realistically, even though he happened to be killing kids for revenge on the people that burned him, he needed to kill the kids anyway because he had to get the souls.
It's in the contract.
So it's like, you didn't need to burn him alive to begin with. Like, the whole original origin is totally unnecessary.
No, I mean, this is just how do we feel? Let's add even a more layer because he's so evil. So he needs 1,000 reasons to be evil.
Yeah, and by the way, also, now, like, they go back, all the kids that died in Springwood, they go back to the group home. And she's like, yo, 3 of our kids died when I was over there. And they were like, I've never heard of those kids before in my life. And she's like, what? They were here. And he's like, no, I've never heard of those kids before in my life. And we find out that Freddy is actually erasing people from ever existing. And you're like, did he just start doing that? Because he definitely was.
Power?
Like, did he just now start that in 1999? Because he was not doing that before.
Never seen him.
But so what happens is Yaphet Kotto ends up dreaming and fighting Freddy in the dream. Yaphet Kotto is the only adult that can control his dreams. So that's why he believes everybody. So that nobody gets erased for him because he can control his mind. He's worked on it.
He's a lucid dreamer.
Yes, exactly. So what he does is he gets in a fight with Freddy in the dream, but he sets an alarm for himself. Smart. And he grabs Freddy by the sweater because he knows his alarm is about to go off. And then when the alarm goes off, the sweater is still in his hand. So he realizes we can bring Freddy into the real world. If I can bring his sweater into the real world, I can bring him into the real world. And he's much more vulnerable in the real world. So that's what happens. They end up pulling Freddy into the real world. His daughter ends up putting the glove on and killing him poetically. But that's not... So she stabs him up and damages him. But then they shove a stick of dynamite in him and light it and run away. And then they blow him up.
Like Looney Tunes.
Exactly. And that is the end of Freddy. Freddy's dead. The final nightmare done. So you're probably going... You said 7 movies, Sam. Not counting Freddy versus Jason.
Right.
Yes. There is a 7th movie in the series.
Mm-hmm.
Wes Craven's New Nightmare. This came out in 1994.
1994.
Wes Craven's New Nightmare, while exceptionally flawed, it's like a really weird movie, it's actually very good. Nancy is back, but it stars Nancy as the actress who played Nancy in the Freddy Krueger movies.
All right, wait, what?
I know we're not supposed to say meta anymore because Zuckerberg owns that word, but it's like basically what Wes Craven did. So Scream came out in like 96, right?
Yeah.
96, 97, something like that.
Yeah, I was like 5 years old or something.
I think that, like, you, Hot Dog, it's enough. This is the second time you tried to brag about, like, how young you are in this thing. Like, you're 30. It's okay. Like, embrace it.
That's how I relate. I was about 5 years old.
I can't tell you what year it came out. I was way too young. So, I think this is like the spiritual prequel to Scream. Because this is a movie about a movie being made. Basically, what happens is the actress that Wes Craven is in this movie. And in this movie, Wes Craven is asking, what's her name? Heather, the actress that played Nancy, to come back and do another Freddy movie. And as he's asking her to do that, the real Freddy starts haunting the people associated with the movie. And this real Freddy is so much better than the Freddy in all these goofy sequels. Like, there's no goofy, like, Dream Warrior stuff. There's no one-liners. There's no anything. He looks way scarier. He's not wearing a glove. He's actually got, like, razors that come out of his fingers. He's wears, like, a trench coat. It's such, if you look at the Freddy, it's such a better Freddy. He wears boots. It's a scarier Freddy. And it's a very original concept to me.
It sounded like it was gonna, like, the way you started setting it up, like it was gonna be very, very campy.
I mean, it's kind of campy, but it's not goofy.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's campy. No, campy's the wrong word for it. It's not campy. It's just it's very meta, and it leaves you. So, like, the actress that played Nancy starts getting haunted by Freddy Krueger after a series of earthquakes in California. And Freddy Krueger ends up killing her husband and haunting her son. Like, he keeps popping up in her son's dreams, and it's making her son go nuts. And she ends up hanging out with the actress that played her dad in parts 1 and 3. So he's back, and he's like a shoulder to cry on for her, almost a paternal figure. But it's understood this is the actor that played your father in these 2 movies, and you are just friends with him now. So it's kind of fun in the way that, like, you don't have to try to make sense of all the shit that you did leading up to this. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of the more creative ways I've found to reboot without rebooting. Like, everything still counts, but now we're stepping into this world where this is the world where all of us went to see those movies. This is a world where all those movies exist as movies. You see? Mm-hmm. And Robert Englund is in this movie as Robert Englund, but also as Freddy.
2 separate characters.
2 separate characters. Yeah, Freddy is Freddy. Like, this is not, like, Freddy is Freddy and haunts dreams. But to Freddy doesn't understand the difference. Like, Freddy thinks that Heather is Nancy. Like, Freddy, somehow the energy from the movie created Freddy, and Freddy is trying to get the movie world to exist in real life. Like, at one point in the film, Freddy makes Nancy's house look like Nancy's house instead of the actress's house.
That's very interesting.
You know what I mean? Like, it starts getting into this thing, and, like, you don't exactly know what's going on and who's responsible for it. You know, like, a lot of the movie, like Wes Craven's character in the movie, Wes Craven, he's playing himself. It seems like he has already scripted this whole thing. Like, at the end of it, the movie that Wes Craven wants to make with Nancy is the real life thing that happened in front of our eyes. So we don't know if maybe Wes Craven is exorcising these demons through, and he needs to bring back Nancy to get these demons out of him. You know, we don't know. But that's basically, in a nutshell, New Nightmare. At one point, he almost eats Nancy's kid, you know, Freddy, but Nancy's able to kill him.
So you'd call number 7 a good
Number
movie.
7's good.
Okay.
It's not great, but it's good. It's good. It's, yeah. Really, the only
There's more hits than misses.
5 and 6 are the only movies that are like, these are bad movies. And 6 is like the only one that is for sure like, this sucks. Like, this movie sucks. As far as movies go, this one sucks. Like, if I went to it in the theater, I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, why would you do this? And then technically the 8th movie in the series is Freddy vs. Jason, which is also the end of the Jason series. Because that movie does take place after Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare. In that movie, but I mean, that's a campy movie. That really is just to create this thing. Like, I almost feel like if they made another Freddy movie, I don't know if they would ignore Freddy versus Jason or not. But in that movie, Freddy is in hell because he died. That's fair. Freddy's in hell, and Jason is down there with him. And what he does is he resurrects Jason, and it's actually kind of creative. He resurrects Jason, because Jason can get resurrected like nonstop, you know, from that series. Mm-hmm. And instead of sending Jason to Camp Crystal Lake, he sends Jason to Elm Street. Why does he send Jason to Elm Street? It's because if Jason starts killing people on Elm Street's not going to be like, yo, I think Jason is back. Elm Street's going to be like, oh shit, Freddy's back. And if Elm Street is saying, oh shit, Freddy's back, then Freddy can come back.
The fears.
Right. And so
at this point, he's feeding in fear, not souls.
Exactly. So, but the reason that Freddy and Jason end up at odds with each other is because Freddy's like, yep, finally everybody's scared of me again. So Freddy's about to start killing people in their dreams, but Jason is such a big galoot that he just kills people in real life. So like before Freddy has a chance to kill them in their dream, Jason already killed them. And Freddy's like, what? Like, what's the point then? Like, come on. And so then they end up having it out. And as we discussed previously, Jason beheads Freddy, but then Freddy's severed head winks at the camera.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that. And
yeah.
Even back then thinking that was super cheesy.
Yeah, very ambiguous.
So there hasn't been a Freddy movie in how long?
Well, okay. So that, I'm going to give you the exact dates because, so Freddy versus Jason was, I want to say 2003. So 94 was New Nightmare. There was no Freddy movie from 94 until 2003. So that's 9 years. And then they did a Nightmare on Elm Street remake, which I like.
Right.
Yeah, I like that. A lot of people, I think, didn't. It was a little more serious. It was not so like one-linery. It was a little darker. But the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, I want to say somewhere around 2010. Sounds about right. Yeah, 2010. Nailed it. Boom. Way to go, Sam. Yeah, so 2010. So 2003, Freddy vs. Jason came out. 2010, the Nightmare on Elm Street remake came out. And nothing since then.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but for all intents and purposes, the Freddy story ended in 94, and then we got a little tip of the hat in 2003 with Freddy vs. Jason.
Not a bad series at all. I put this above Jason. Oh yeah, for sure, because and that got a little bit fucking crazy, and then
well, yeah, look, I mean, this is the one, right? So like Friday the 13th and Halloween, both of those movies have a lot of sequels where it's very obvious that there was like production companies scrambling for money just to put some bullshit out in the theaters. Like it was just a money grab. Like except Freddy's Dead seems like they had no money to make that. Freddy's Dead is garbage. But all the other movies, it feels like had significant studio backing. Like they're real movies. So yeah, I would say that as far as horror franchises goes, there's a lot of integrity to be had with the Nightmare on Elm Street series, although significantly flawed. All told, I would check it out. I think you can get like all of the movies for like $40 on iTunes right now. If you're going to watch a franchise, straight through, this is a good one to do it. I had a great time this week because that's what I did. Literally starting last week. On last Friday night after Sam Roberts Now, I went up and watched the first Nightmare on Elm Street. And over the course of the last week, I watched all these movies. I was watching New Nightmare. Like, I watched New Nightmare instead of SmackDown tonight. Like, I was at The Wire. But, like, I got them all in. So, yeah, and I had a great time. Like, I wasn't skipping through them. Like, this is a fun franchise to watch. Saw can get painful to watch the whole thing through. Friday the 13th is tough. Like, if you're going to do a weekend marathon, you're going to tap out at some point with Friday the 13th. You just are. I love Friday the 13th. You're going to tap out. If you can get through Freddy's Dead, you won't tap out. And Freddy's Dead comes pretty late in the series. I think Nightmare on Elm Street is one of the better franchises as a full-on rewatch. Child's Play is actually a good one, too. Child's Play is better than people think. But
did we go over Child's Play?
We did go over Child's Play. Yeah, that's the one with all the weird, like, Seed of Chucky, Cult of Chucky, and then there's multiple Chuckies. And, yeah, that one gets a little wild. I don't know what we're going to do next. We could do Scream before Scream 5 comes out, but that's only 4 movies. If you got any suggestions, leave them in the comments for sure. because I love the franchise breakdowns. And if you, Hot Dog, think of one that, even if you haven't seen it, you know what we should do? Leprechaun.
Leprechaun.
There's like 8 of them.
Leprechaun. That sounds super familiar.
Leprechaun in the Hood. Leprechaun Back to the Hood. Leprechaun in Space.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I think Leprechaun might be a good one. And especially because you can go on Apple and you can get all 8 Leprechaun movies for, I think, $15.
You know all the deals for.
Oh yeah, no, I stay. You know what we never did too? Paranormal Activity.
Oh, okay. That might not be a bad one.
That could be a fun one.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I stay on these iTunes deals. I stay on them. Green Knight was $9.99 this week. Purchased.
I like the idea of a Paranormal Activity.
Maybe Paranormal Activity is the next one we do.
Yeah.
You know the rules here of Sam Roberts now, though, folks. You know what we do. Every super chat gets read, no matter how late we're going. This was a long show tonight. It's been a long time since we did one of these marathon shows, but it's Halloween weekend, for God's sake. So super chat it in. Make it worth my while, okay? Make it worth Hot Dog's while. We're giving you all this entertainment. Super chat it in. If you haven't liked already, please like. I mean, you're sitting here. Come on. It's late at night. I'm giving you all this time. Like. Subscribe. Yeah, let's get 100 likes. That's not going to be difficult at this point. And also, don't forget to watch the Ian Fidance and Sam Roberts Sopranos Prima Volta. Episode 1 is already on the channel here. Episode 2 will be out next Thursday. Let's read some of these super chats. Reed Rothschild wondering when the Sam and Uncle Dave podcast is going to begin. Love you two's chemistry. Reed Rothschild, I think, is drunk. I was looking at my Twitter mentions. He did 3 Uncle Dave joke tweets in a row. And it was almost like, got it. I got it. Dana Quigley. By the way, Dana Quigley, one of the people who suggested this Nightmare on Elm Street full franchise breakdown. So hope you enjoyed it. Definitely super chatting Sammy for the breakdown of Nightmare on Elm Street. Way more excited than I should be. I hope it lived up to expectations. John Fritch, crossing swords with Uncle Dave and Sam Roberts. That's very funny. Cats and Jello, unrelated, oof for the Trav Dog. Well, it's always a good time for that, I think. Sam Banks, gotta know the deets about the dinner with Villa, Santana, MVP, and Sweet Pete. We need the scoops. Also, Hot Dog looks fantastic. Myers is greater than Freddy. Yeah, I would say as villains go, Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees are better villains than Freddy Krueger. But I can't give it to the franchise. You see that photo I posted of dinner?
I saw you had some chicken wings in there, right?
You see who was at that dinner, though?
MVP,
Rosenberg.
Who else was in there? That's the only 2 people I noticed. Oh, and our boy.
Joe Villa?
Yeah.
You didn't see what other wrestling superstar was there?
No. Who?
You didn't see Santana?
Oh, yeah. I was like, oh, Santana's the NYC boy. I was like, oh, okay,
yeah. Yeah. It's dope as hell.
That's pretty cool.
We were just chopping it up. I got a good Rosenberg story, too, from Rosenberg that I can't say on the air, but he's the fucking man. It was like, I was like, you're the man. Sam Banks. Oh, yeah, I read that one. Not Sam Lehman. Was Freddy always meant to be corny, or was he just of the time? Well, he got, for not corny, he got to a place right around part 4 where, like, dad jokes was a Freddy thing. Like, it was almost like, what's his one-liner going to be? But, yeah, it was like part 3, he started sprinkling it in, and by part 4, it was like dad jokes and one-liners was Freddy's thing. And, yeah, I mean, looking back on it, it sucks. Dana Quigley, would you rather die by funny Freddy or by Hot Dog dressed like Prince? I mean, probably funny.
Think wisely, Sam.
Okay, probably funny Freddy. Were you trying to be Prince or The Undertaker?
The Undertaker.
Oh, okay. All right, good. It did sound like more like The Undertaker than Prince, to be fair. Six Crow, Sam, loving the Sopranos pod. I like EM and watching for the first time. Have you decided on what pace to watch the show and podcast together? Yeah, so this Thursday is going to be season 2, episodes 1 through 3. and then a week later, episodes 4 through 6. And assuming we can keep up, like, it's just a matter of, will we be able to get together often enough to do it every single week? But I think the rhythm that we're finding right now is 3 episodes per show. And, also, it's unreal. Like, you're going to watch more than one episode. Even if you start right now, first of all, you got a lot to catch up because we covered the entire season 1 in the first ep. But it's The Sopranos. Like, you're not going to watch one episode a week. So I think it'll be fine. Where are you at with The Sopranos?
I was thinking about starting it this weekend or next after I have some time to recuperate and whatnot. But
I would start it this weekend. It's fun. It's just so good, man. And it's like you'll burn through the first season, and then you'll catch right up with the show Ian and I do. And I think you'll have a fun time with it. I think you'll enjoy it. Oh, my buddy Chuck says Nightmare on Elm Street 5 is fired. Duckface is in the goddamn movie. Yeah, Duckface from Full House. By the way, 2 kids from Full House are in those movies because in The Dream Child. No. The Dream Child is part 5, right? So in New Nightmare, in New Nightmare, the kid is played by the kid that was in Full House, but also in like Kindergarten Cop, who said boys have a penis, girls have a vagina. That kid that was in everything, he's canceled. The kid in New Nightmare. Yeah, he's canceled now because that's, there's a lot more to it than that. And yeah, in Nightmare on Elm Street 5, Jacob, who turns into Baby Freddy, is played by Duckface from Full House. He's right. Chuck's right about that. Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street 5 is actually not very good. It's nowhere near as bad as Freddy's Dead. Freddy's Dead is real bad. Freddy's Dead is a bad movie. Nightmare on Elm Street 5 is like, if you love Nightmare on Elm Street, you can still hang with it. Freddy's Dead is like, you're just abusing your fan base at this point. Like, you're really taking us for granted. Freddy's Dead.
You stuck along.
I did. And by the way, and New Nightmare was dope. So I felt okay about it. But Freddy's Dead, I mean, I'll never get that hour and 45 minutes back. Reed Rothschild. The second, I did this one. And the other one is, the second Freddy is like the Jason movie where it's the ambulance driver. They stayed away from the structure and they went back to the OG. Remember that the OG formula? Remember the one Friday the 13th movie where it's what's his name? It's not Jason, it's the other guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was his name? What was it? My head is so full of Nightmare on Elm Street and Sopranos stuff right now. And then also I was doing like a wrestling interview this morning, so like I just pack my face full of whatever information I have to cover at the moment is. What was his name? And I think it was Friday the 13th, part 5. What's
part 5? I'm looking at part 2.
Part 2 is Jason. Part 1 is his mom. Yeah, look up the killer in part 5 at what his name is. Dana Quigley says
Roy Burns.
Roy. That's right, it's Roy. Roy is the killer. Who's the killer? Is it Jason Voorhees? No, it was Roy was the killer. Dana Quigley says Dream Warriors is by far my favorite besides the first one because Zsa Zsa Gabor gets murdered by Dick Cavett. Yeah, that's true. That does happen. Yeah, I would say Dream Warriors is part 3, right? Yeah, I would back that up. Dream Warriors is probably the second best one. I think Dream Warriors is better than New Nightmare. Yeah, no, I'm with you. It might go 1, 3, 2 for me. I really like 2 just because it's so like they really went for it. You know what I mean? Rob Thompson, Sam, hot dog, great work tonight for real. So far, this is an epic breakdown of a mid-'80s staple. Excellent work. Mid-'80s. You don't even remember that, do you, hot dog?
It was just darkness.
Darkness. Thank you, Adam Tamsula. Six Crows, Sam, for Sunday, Monday, Notsam Wrestling, can you give your view on the No December pay-per-view, the January 1st pay-per-view, what it might be, and the bunch of Saturday night pay-per-views? Yeah, I could do a pay-per-view breakdown. Why not? Why the hell not? Adam Poole, Freddy Krueger versus Edward Scissorhands. Who would win? Freddy Krueger. Edward Scissorhands is completely bitch-made. Like, Edward Scissorhands, if you get mad enough, he might do something. But honestly, he's super bitch made, and he would do whatever Winona Ryder tells him to do. Like, Winona Ryder had that boy shook. Everybody knows that about Edward Scissorhands. I'm not worried about Edward Scissorhands at all. And honestly, Edward Scissorhands, played by Johnny Depp. What happened when Johnny Depp met Freddy Krueger? He got ate by a bed.
Got cooked.
Oh, by the way, in Freddy's Dead, one of the kids plays a stoner.
Mm-hmm.
And like this, they literally start playing Inagata Davida and start showing color swirls for like a stoner death scene. It's like so bad. That's Freddy's Dead. It's a bad movie. The Bobby Hall, my bipolar wife is finally pregnant. Also, we weirdly just finished New Nightmare when I got your episode notification. Freddy is real. Congratulations, The Bobby Hall. Hope you guys are very happy, and I'm glad you watched New Nightmare. New Nightmare is dope. Let's see. Scrolled up. There it is. Reed Rothschild. Freddy's glove appears and Jason Goes to Hell. Yeah, it brings the mask down into hell. His glove takes the mask. Is Jim and Sam on next week? Montone's Tev was perfect. Yes. Jim and Sam is on next week. We're signed through November. And yes, Freddy's glove brings Jason's mask down to hell in Jason Goes to Hell, which is the predecessor to Freddy vs. Jason, and made people go like, oh, shit.
I bet you that was a dope-ass moment in the movie theater.
Oh, my God. Dude, you have no idea how much people wanted Freddy vs. Jason in 1993. We didn't get it until 2003. It was different. In 1993, oh, my God. Oh, my God. There were two things everybody in my school loved in 1993. Freddy vs. Jason and Don Mattingly. That was it. Dana Quigley. Oh, good. Great breakdown of the franchise, Sammy. I'm doing a Nightmare on Elm Street rewatch. I suggest Hot Dog watch one of the movies. Okay.
I'll watch the first one.
Okay, let's say
I want to watch the last one. The last one actually sounds very, very interesting.
I want you to watch the second one.
The second one.
Just because you don't even. It's not even for the show. I just want you to hit me up and be like, "The fuck was that?" Not Sam Lehman. Sam, you failed to mention that when Johnny Depp dies in the first movie, the show he's watching is called Miss Nude America, if memory serves correct. I'll have to confirm that, but that does sound about right. Miss Nude America. Well, he's a teenage boy. He's red-blooded American, bro. Christopher Cavey. Hey, Sam, you forgot Hellraiser. We could do the Hellraiser franchise. We could do Candyman, too. There's a lot of them still to do, I guess. Zatoichi's Cane Sword, Monster Squad. Watch it with your kids. Monster Squad's a classic. Monster Squad is an absolute classic. Ellie Munoz should do a breakdown of The House with Richard Mole. I don't know anything about that, bro. I don't know anything about that. Reed Rothschild, I did bombard you with Uncle Dave tweets, but what do you expect? Your romance has bewitched me. I love love. I mean, that's a really nice sentiment. Ellie Munoz, Hot Dog, you doing Shiba Coin now? You doing Shiba Coin?
I'm out of the coin game, man.
I'm going to tell you something. I might have spoken to a person recently who made a pretty penny off Shiba Coin.
There's always someone making a pretty penny.
He jumped in at like, he put $1,000 into Shiba Coin when it was like 0.0000000 of a cent. And now it's down to just 0.0000 of a cent. Woo! True to roof.
Well, would you ever put in $1,000 for something that's at 0.0001%?
$1,000? I'm not balling like this guy is. But, I mean, even if I put in 50 and turn that into a cool 1500, that would feel good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I might need to do that after November.
My luck, though, not happening.
Nah, it wouldn't happen. I might need to do that after November, though. I might need to get into this crypto game. I need to find some money. Are they hiring over at your place?
I'll let you know.
Okay, cool. I'll join that union.
You can work under me.
Oh, okay. All right. I heard that's a good spot to be in.
Yeah.
Satorchi's Cane Sword. Hat Dag. Happy Halloween, my friend, and happy Halloween, everybody. Six Crows. Oh, the Final Destination series. That's the one. That's the one. Final Destination is so dope. It's so good. That's probably a great idea. I love that one. Ellie Munoz, Hot Dog looks like a diversity hire in a Three Amigos remake. Aaron, I like your haircut. It matches your voice now. I mean, is my voice super masculine and manly?
That's like a
and
double compliment, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't.
I think.
Do I sound
double
tough?
insult?
Do I sound tough? Because I know I look tough.
Or maybe like the opposite, like whiny.
If that's what he thought of my haircut, he needs to get some glasses. Because I look tough and badass. Anybody that would ever say they preferred me the way I had my hair right before I shaved it is an asshole. Like, there's no way. There's no way. I'm at the point now where I've had my head shaved long enough that I look at pictures of my hair right before I shave my head, and I'm just going like, what the fuck was I thinking? Not Sam Lehman coming to Sirius in 2022. Daddy Montone and Little Thumbs AJ. Maybe. Open whatever hashtag _ Here's $5. Don't hurt yourself, kid. Did that read cool? It read real cool, man. And you know what? You know what's even more important? That $5 is gonna spend cool too. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? All right, guys. Well, my God, a 2-hour show. Happy Halloween.
Spectacular.
This is the 4th show I've taped in this studio today.
What else are you?
Don't worry about it,
What you
bro.
got going on?
Don't worry about it, bro. I got all kinds of stuff going on.
Keeping secrets?
You know what? You told me that you didn't want the content initiative to die.
That's true. That's true.
Is it dying or is it living?
It's living.
This is the content initiative's revenge. All right, guys. Hey, I appreciate all you guys. Reed Rothschild. I just listened to old O&A where Ozzy is fascinated by your hair. That's what he said. It looks like you're riding a motorcycle. Because my hair was like in a bun, like it was pulled back in a bun. Appreciate all you guys. Thank you all for hanging out late night tonight. Let me see. Is this a new one? You got 5 styluses, and don't ever forget. I'm going to cheers with you later. Happy Halloween, everybody. Have a good one. Thanks for hanging.